All right, step one. And also, if you take nothing away, let it be the hand pause. I really love this because one of the most critical errors we see at the beginning of a case is just diving straight in and skipping the pause. If you're a data person like I am, like Mary is, our first instinct is always to just jump straight into the data, make 50 million pivot tables, and go, okay, now what? The critical pause needs to happen when we define the expectations for ourselves. So based on whatever the allegation is, what should we be seeing? What would be appropriate billing? And then conversely, what shouldn't we be seeing? What would raise some red flags to us before we even look at the data face value? That you can do that many different ways. Really knowing the rules of what you're working with, the allegation, the provider specialties, what's really helpful. So code descriptions, sometimes a CPT code description will give you a black and white, what they can bill, what they can't bill, time restraints, units, etc. Provider manuals and applicable billing guidance. And then if you have any specific coverage criteria or policies, those are all really great places to take the pause. All right. So skipping the pause, I guess if we're going to keep the analogy going, it can be synonymous with stopping and smelling the roses, which is why I really love this visual that we have here. So we've kind of mentioned this already, but when you dive straight into the data, you skip the rules and the regulations and the guidance that you have, you really are aimlessly just lost in the land of data. This obviously is right at the beginning, so you really need to be careful to set yourself up for success. So that's why this pause is so critical. You could get all the way to step 3, and if you didn't take this pause in the beginning, you might not have a actionable, defensible, investigative scope by the end. Skipping the pause doesn't make investigations faster, it just makes them less accurate. That is probably the clearest way we could just explain that. I don't want a situation to happen where I poured all this work in and I didn't look at any of the rules, the guidance, the CPT code description, like in my member example, and just wrote up an entire report. And then maybe it ends up on Mary's desk and she's like, no, this is completely allowed. They can do this. There's no problems here. But that may have happened before, possibly.